Hey there, friends. Pastor Jason here. Glad you can join me for daily devotionals. We're in Numbers 15 and 16. After Numbers 15, you're going to want to go check out Psalm 90. I'll try to put it up here for you, maybe there. That's where that psalm comes into play. And we've already done a video on that. I'm not going to rehash it. You're going to want to go read Psalm 90. My video has Psalm 91. That comes after Deuteronomy. Here we go. We're in Numbers today, though. Numbers 15. The Lord instructed Moses, "Speak to the Israelites. Tell them, when you enter the land I'm giving you to settle in, and you make a fire offering to the Lord from the herd or flock, either burnt offering or sacrifice, to fulfill a vow or as a free will offering, or at your appointed festivals, to produce a pleasing aroma to the Lord, the one presenting his offering to the Lord must also present a grain offering of 2 quarts of fine flour mixed with a quart of oil. Prepare a quart of wine as a drink offering with the burnt offering or sacrifice of each lamb." Don't forget, the Lord said you're not entering the promised land, and so now he's giving them other land to wander around and settle in, and he's giving them more instruction. Verse 6. "If you prepare a grain offering with a ram, it must be 4 quarts of fine flour mixed with 1/3 of a gallon of oil. Also present 1/3 of a gallon of wine for a drink offering as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. If you're preparing a young bull as a burnt offering or as a sacrifice to fulfill a vow or as a fellowship offering to the Lord, a grain offering of 6 quarts of fine flour mixed with 2 quarts of oil must be presented with the bull. Also present 2 quarts of wine as a drink offering. It is a fire offering of pleasing aroma to the Lord. This is to be done for each ox, ram, lamb, or goat. This is how you must prepare each of them, no matter how many." My reading today. Every Israelite is to prepare these things in this way when he presents a fire offering as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. When a foreigner resides with you or someone else is among you and wants to prepare a fire offering as a pleasing aroma to the Lord, he is to do exactly as you do throughout your generations. The assembly is to have the same statute for both you and the foreign resident as a permanent statute throughout your generations. You and the foreigner will be alike before the Lord. The same law and the same ordinance will apply to both you and the foreigner who resides with you. The Lord instructed Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and tell them, after you enter the land where I am bringing you, you are to offer a contribution to the Lord when you eat from the food of the land. You are to offer a loaf from your first batch of dough as a contribution. Offer it just like a contribution from the threshing floor. Throughout your generations, you are to give the Lord a contribution from your first batch of your dough. When you sin unintentionally and do not obey all these commands that the Lord spoke to Moses, all that the Lord has commanded you through Moses, from the day the Lord issued commands and onward throughout your generations, and if it was done unintentionally without the community's awareness, the entire community is to prepare 1 young bull for a burnt offering as a pleasing aroma to the Lord, with its grain offering and drink offering according to the regulation, and 1 male goat as a sin offering. The priest must then make atonement for the entire Israelite community so that they may be forgiven. For the sin was unintentional. They are to bring their offering, one made by fire, to the Lord, and their sin offering before the Lord for their unintentional sin. The entire Israelite community and the foreigner who resides among them will be forgiven, since it happened to all the people unintentionally. If one person sins unintentionally, he is to present a year-old female goat as a sin offering. The priest must then make atonement before the Lord on behalf of the person who acts in error, sinning unintentionally, and when he makes atonement for him, he will be forgiven. You are to have the same law for the person who acts in error, whether he is an Israelite or a foreigner who lives among you. But the person who acts defiantly, whether a native or foreign resident, blasphemes the Lord, that person is to be cut off from his people. He will certainly be cut off because he has despised the Lord's word and broken his command. His guilt remains on him. While the Israelites were in the wilderness, they found a man gathering wood on the Sabbath day. Those who found him gathered wood, brought him to Moses, Aaron, and the entire community. They placed him in custody because it had not been decided what should be done to him. Then the Lord told Moses, "The man is to be put to death. The entire community is to stone him outside the camp." So the entire community brought him outside the camp and stoned him to death, as the Lord commanded Moses. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and tell them that throughout their generations they are to make tassels for the corners of their garments and put a blue cord on the tassel at each corner. These will serve as tassels for you to look at, so that you may remember all the Lord's commands and obey them and not become unfaithful by following your own heart and your own eyes. This way you will remember and obey all my commands and be holy to your God. I am Yahweh your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Yahweh your God." Number 16. Don't forget, this is where you might want to pause the video and go read Psalm 90. Number 16. Now Korah, son of Izhar, son of Kohath, son of Levi, with Dathan and Abiram, son of Eliab, and On, son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took 250 prominent Israelite men who were leaders in the community and representatives in the assembly, and they rebelled against Moses. They came together against Moses and Aaron and told them, "You have gone too far. Everyone in the entire community is holy, and the Lord is among them. Why do you exalt yourselves above the Lord's assembly?" When Moses heard this, he fell face down. Then he said to Korah and all his followers, "Tomorrow morning the Lord will reveal who belongs to him, who is set apart, and the one who will let come near him. He will let the one he chooses come near him. Korah, you and all your followers are to do this. Take fire pans tomorrow, place fire in them, and put incense on them before the Lord. Then the man the Lord chooses will be the one who is set apart. It is you Levites who have gone too far." Moses also told Korah, Listen, Levites, isn't it enough for you that God of Israel has separated you from the Israelite community to bring you near himself, to perform the work at the Lord's tabernacle, and to stand before the community to minister to them? He has brought you near, and all your fellow Levites who are with you, but you are seeking the priesthood as well. Therefore it is you and all your followers who have conspired against the Lord. As for Aaron, who is he that you should complain about him? Moses sent for Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, but they said, "We will not come. Is it not enough that you brought us up from the land flowing with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness? Do you also have to appoint yourself as ruler over us? Do you also have to appoint yourself ruler over us? Furthermore, Moses sent for Dathan and Abiram, sons of Eliab, but they said, "We will not come. Is it not enough that you brought us up from a land flowing with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness? Do you have to appoint yourself ruler over us? Furthermore, you didn't bring us to a land flowing with milk and honey or give us inheritance of fields and vineyards. Will you gouge out the eyes of these men? We will not come." Then Moses became angry, and he said to the Lord, "Don't respect their offering. I have not taken one donkey from them or mistreated a single one of them." So Moses told Korah, "You and all your followers are to appear before the Lord tomorrow. You, they, and Aaron. Each of you is to take his fire pan, place incense on it, and present his fire pan before the Lord. 250 fire pans. You and Aaron are to each present your fire pan also. Each man took his fire pan and placed fire in it, put incense on it, and stood at the entrance to the tent of meeting along with Moses and Aaron. After Korah assembled the whole community against them at the entrance of the tent of meeting, the glory of the Lord appeared to the whole community. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, "Separate yourselves from this community so I may consume them instantly." But Moses and Aaron fell face down. God of the spirits of all flesh, when one man sins, will you vent your wrath on the whole community? The Lord replied to Moses, "Tell the community, get away from the dwellings of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram." Moses got up and went to Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. He warned the community, "Get away now from the tents of these wicked men. Don't touch anything that belongs to them, or you will be swept away because of all their sins." So they got away from the dwellings of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Meanwhile, Dathan and Abiram came out and stood at the entrance of their tents with their wives, children, and infants. Then Moses said, "This is how you will know that the Lord has sent me to do all these things, and that it was not of my own will. If these men die naturally, as all people would, and suffer the fate of all, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord brings about something unprecedented, and the ground opens its mouth and swallows them along with all that belongs to them, so that they go down alive into Sheol, then you will know that these men have despised the Lord." Just as he finished speaking all these words, the ground beneath them split open. The earth opened its mouth and swallowed them and their households, all Korah's people and all their possessions. They went down alive into Sheol with all that belonged to them. The earth closed over them, and they vanished from the assembly. At their cries, all the people of Israel were around them fled because they thought, "The earth may swallow us too." Fire also came out from the Lord and consumed 250 men who were presenting the incense. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, to remove the fire pans from the burning debris, because they are holy, and scatter the fire far away. As for the fire pans of those who sinned at the cost of their own lives, make them into hammered sheets as plating for the altar. For they presented them before the Lord, and the fire pans are holy. They will be a sign to the Israelites." That's right, Pastor Greg. Associate Pastor Greg over here. They will be a sign, those fire pans hammered out. They will be a sign for the Israelites. So Eleazar, the priest, took the bronze fire pans that those who were burned had presented, and they were hammered into a plating for the altar, just as the Lord commanded him through Moses. It was to be a reminder for the Israelites that no unauthorized person outside the lineage of Aaron should approach to offer incense before the Lord and become like Korah and his followers. The next day, the entire Israelite community complained about Moses and Aaron, saying, "You have killed the Lord's people." When the community assembled against them, Moses and Aaron turned toward the tent of meeting, and suddenly the cloud covered it, and the Lord's glory appeared. Moses and Aaron went to the front of the tent of meeting, and the Lord said to Moses, "Get away from this community so that I may consume them instantly." But they fell face down. Then Moses told Aaron, "Take your fire pan, place fire from the altar in it, and add incense. Go quickly to the community and make atonement for them, because the wrath has come from the Lord. The plague has begun." So Aaron took his fire pan as Moses had ordered, ran into the middle of the assembly, and saw that the plague had begun among the people. After he added the incense and made atonement for the people, he stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was halted. But those who died from the plague numbered 14,700, in addition to those who had died because of the Korah incident. Aaron then returned to Moses at the entrance to the tent of meeting, since the plague had been halted. Man, big stuff. With the Lord just shows how serious he is about what he considers holy and what his judgments are. His judgments are righteous, and we shouldn't question them. When we read about Korah, maybe it's not the first time you've heard that name. You might have heard it from the sons of Korah in the Psalms. Some of his family make it out somehow, some way. So some portion of the people are named in the lineage of Korah, and also Samuel in the lineage of Korah as well. It is interesting. We need to remember to accept the Lord's judgment, accept what he has had to say, and be sure that we follow after him. Now, praise Jesus, we have Christ who is our sacrifice, Christ who brings us forgiveness, right? Because if we look back in chapter 15, if you willfully sin, you're out. You're out on your own. You're not with the people anymore. You know, even just simply as gathering firewood on a Sabbath, worthy of death by stoning. But thankfully, praise God, we have Christ who is our all-sufficient sacrifice, high priest, Savior, King, Lord. I hope he is that for you today. Well, I hope this, and don't forget Psalm 90, have been a blessing to you, just even if it's not just reading it, maybe it's for the first time. Go on up, be a blessing to those around you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're in Psalm 119, so make sure you bring yourself a big cup of coffee to go along with it, and I'll see you tomorrow.